Morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Dustin. Thank you for being here. It's Saturday, 7:30 in the morning, early as can be, and I have a wonderful, amazing guest today. I say amazing, and I don't use that loosely. I have Cindy Demanche. She is one of the sweetest people that I have met in the last year in this community. And I'm super excited to talk to her, so let's go ahead and bring her over. Good morning,
Hello.
Cindy.
Hello, Dustin. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. And you?
I'm great. Just
Like you need
great.
some tissues, huh?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No. You do.
My nose is almost always runny. It doesn't matter if I feel normal or not. It's always kind of runny somewhere.
Interesting.
I don't know what causes it, but
I get it. Mine does it every once in a while. Watching Wendy on Loving It on Keto, they did a food sensitivity test. Her and Harry did.
hmm
And something she was eating was making that happen with her, making her nose drip, is what she says. And she quit eating the foods that she was very sensitive to, and it stopped.
did she ever find out what it was?
Yeah, you get this big result back of all the foods that you're sensitive to. And one of the big ones for both of them was ground beef. They've been eating bison a lot. It's insane. I've thought about doing it, but I'm like, would I really give up something?
I don't think I could afford to give up ground beef.
Right. But it's like, I think it was, I mean, he'll still eat like hamburger patties every once in a while if they go out. But I think overall, it's something that they ate so much of so often that
Yeah.
that could have been why it kicked out sensitive. So I don't know. It's interesting though. I thought about doing that, and I'm like, I'd be afraid of what it would come back.
Yeah, me too. Like you can't eat any of the things that you're supposed to eat anymore,
That you really like.
right? That's probably what I'm going to have later today is some ground beef and some sausage and eggs.
I've got a bunch of ground beef browned up in the refrigerator now to use however, whether I add
I've got
taco
turkey
seasoning
still in the
or
fridge too.
do what?
I have turkey still in the fridge.
Yep. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. We had the kids over. My brother stopped by. I mean, our family's pretty small. Like our family footprint here in Indy is
Mhm.
pretty small. So I mean, realistically, it's just Shander and I, the kids, the granddaughter, and my brother. Really,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, it's
So
good that everybody gets together, though.
yeah, I called my brother and I asked him, I was like, "Are you coming over today?" I don't know, maybe. No, wrong answer. You'll be here. Fine. I'm like, what else you gonna do? I
That's
mean,
right.
we made two turkeys and we literally have like maybe just a couple pounds left. So the kids
Wow.
are voracious when it comes to turkey. So,
Wow. Surprised they didn't take the rest of it home.
oh, they did. Yeah, they did. They took, I mean, most of it, we sent almost everything home with them and we just kept
Mhm.
the turkey and some of the gravy we made.
Yep. Brian and I went to my niece's house,
How did that
and
go?
my oldest sister was there, and her husband, and two of my nieces are keto, and the one I had asked her, I said, "You ordering this mystery flavor?" She said, "I don't know. I don't know if I'll like it." I said, "Trust me, you will like it." And so I had those two shakes that I made up that Brian and I tested when I did the video. And I said, I'll bring those. You can try them. But I did it on video and I put up a short about both of my nieces trying it.
hmm
And they both loved it. So it was funny. They don't know what
Were
flavor
they
it is.
able to guess the flavor correctly?
Nope.
No.
They were trying like crazy. Nope. It was pretty funny though. But I did a short video and put it up about those two trying it. It was great.
So I wanted to have you on here today because I kind of wanted to share with people who may be watching the channel who are not necessarily familiar with who you are
Mhm.
and what your story is. So I want to know if you would high level go back and kind of give us an idea of what prompted you to start this lifestyle.
Well, I had been overweight most of my adult life. Um, I had 2 small kids and couldn't really do much. Didn't feel like doing anything because I was just bleh. So in 2020, after my kids are all grown, everything's done, they're about your age. They're 41 to 42. In 2020, Debbie, my sister, had researched different diets for her daughter who had fatty liver disease. And she found keto, and this was back in June of 2020. And she told her daughter, she said, I'll do this with you. And then in the interim, we have a sister chat goes on between Debbie and I and our 2 other sisters. And she kept throwing little hints in there, that she was starting keto. We should all do this together, she says. And I said, all right, let's do it. After about 3 months of her doing that, I finally said, all right, I'm just going to do this. And I told Brian, I said, I'm going to do it to shut her up. And that's what got me started. And when I started, I was so strict keto. Hi, Stacy. And it was like under 20 total carbs a day. Very strict, no keto sweets for like 3 months. I didn't have to try any of that stuff. And I've been going since then. So it was the end of September 2020. Within 23 months, I lost 100 pounds.
That's
And
amazing.
I kept that off for this last year or so now. Because I've had my 3-year ketoversary back in September. Yeah. But I've also gotten rid of blood pressure meds after like 50 years on them. I was pre-diabetic. My A1C is now 5.0. And it's great. It's great. It's a great feeling. And I feel good. I sound pretty froggy now, but who knows what's coming. But yeah. But I feel better than I did in my 30s and 40s when my kids were little, and I should have been more energetic to be with them. Both boys, it was like, but they were fine on their own. They would go to the park, they would go here, they would go there. They were always together. So it was okay. It wasn't fair to them, but it was okay.
It was a different time. You could just let them go roaming. Because, I mean,
Well,
that's when I
yeah.
was a kid, obviously, and we could just go. I mean, my
Mhm.
mom was kind of the helicopter mom because we grew up in an apartment complex and we lived on the second floor. So she would spend a lot of time in her room, sitting on her bed, looking out the window, making sure we were okay, or if we were in the back, because behind our house or behind our apartment is where like the playground was. So she
Mhm.
would keep an eye on us and just go out and play. And if we couldn't go anywhere where we couldn't hear her holler for us.
Right. Well, they would go like to a local park. They knew when they had to be home. In fact, I was working all the time, so I had bought them an alarm clock and showed them how to set it. And they were like 7 and 8 years old, 8 and 9. They would get up for school, they'd get a bowl of cereal, they'd go and they'd get to school on time every day. And they walked to school. It was like 10 minutes from our house. And come back home, when they finished eating their breakfast, they would put their bowls in the sink and rinse them out before they'd go to school. And I'd be home shortly after they got home from school, and they never missed a day. They were so good. It was like, I was impressed. And I sent them to Catholic schools. So every bit of my income tax return, because I was a single parent for most of the time, went to their tuition. And, I felt like I did the best I could for them as far as education wise. Whether they took advantage of it and did something with it was on them. But,
Right.
it was tough. But they were good boys, until they started growing up.
Well, I just want to take a minute to say hi to Stacy. I know I
Sure.
put her up there for just a second, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to interrupt you.
That's
So I
fine.
want to say hi to Stacy. Thank you so much for being here, and Mary
Hi.
as well. Good
Hi,
morning.
Mary.
And I wanted to say thank you so much to a new member, Beverly Rux. That's just amazing. It's always wonderful to come in and open up and find out that someone else has subscribed and a member. I mean, that legitimately like makes my world, you know.
Yes. That's fantastic.
And somebody asked me, they're like, "Are you gonna when you interview Cindy, are you gonna do it with some keto chow ice cream?"
I,
And I
you
and
know,
I
honestly, I don't even have any made up. I don't even have
yeah,
any shakes made up yet.
I
Right
haven't made
now.
up any shakes either because like we Thursday was such like a busy day cooking and doing all that. I didn't feel like getting in the kitchen and making anything. Like yesterday when I got back from shopping with our oldest and our granddaughter, I just made some hot dogs. Just something easy, you know, just put them in the oven and baked
Yeah.
them because I'm like, you know what? I'm tired. That
Yeah.
just wears me out anymore being around people like that.
Yeah, it does. It's you know, and then we had that long day Wednesday coming out there, and
Oh
we
yeah.
left here probably 8:30 Wednesday morning, and we didn't get home till about 7:30 at night because most of it was driving.
Right.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And
But
then
I tell you
Thursday,
that that warms my heart that you guys drove that far, not only to have lunch with us, but to bring me a creamy. And I wanted to talk to you too, because I don't think we actually got a chance to talk about how the food was. Because I know that people hear me talk about Rockstar Pizza and that we have this in central Indiana. And I've been bringing more and more people in to try it. I've had Just Jason Keto come in to try it.
Mhm.
Matreya's been in to try it. Dawn and Mike have been in to try it. Now your husband, Jen Delaney, and her husband have all been in to try it now. And I just kind of want to get an idea of what your take on it was.
I thought we had gotten the keto crust meat lovers
Mm-hmm.
pizza and then those bacon sticks. Oh, those things are to die for. Those are really good. And the pizza was good. I mean, you know, we shared the pizza and thank you guys so much. You did not have to do that. You didn't have to pick that bill up. That was like
I know.
crazy. So anyway, the pizza was really good. The sticks were amazing. Brian and I shared the pizza and an order of the sticks, and then we brought the order home. Another order that I just ate yesterday, most of. But Brian's blood sugars went up to 300 on the way home. So I was like,
Oh my
wow,
goodness.
yeah, it was rough. So I don't know if that was the beginning of him getting sick or
Could be.
I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, but it was good. I mean, he really enjoyed it and he had a great time. You know, we both did. But the food was good. It was
I
really
like hanging
good.
out.
Hmm? What?
I love hanging out with him. He's fun.
He's a good guy. I think I'll
He
keep
really
him.
is.
Yeah.
You guys complement each other so well too.
Opposites attract, you know. he's,
Mean old nasty
he's good.
Cindy, you know.
Do what?
I was like
What
mean
does
old nasty Cindy and
oh
nice
yeah.
old Brian.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
He's
Mary said her and
he's
Joe are going
really
to come up
important.
next.
Say that again.
Said Mary says her and Joe are going to come next.
Yeah, that would be good. It's really good, Mary. But if
Yeah, and
you
it's a
get
small
there,
place. Yeah,
get those bacon sticks because those are mm.
I like those the best. I like the pizza but I like the breadsticks or the just I like those better. They have a
Right.
better flavor, a better crunch.
It's a better crust that they use.
Yeah,
The pizza crust, if they use coconut flour, would be better than the almond flour. You know, almond flour has that grittiness to it that is just, and it was
I
there.
think they're relatively similar recipes, to be honest with
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. but that would be the only difference. But like I've heard you say, if they would use the same crust as they use for those bacon sticks for the pizza, whoo, that would be a killer pizza.
It really would.
You ain't kidding. That would be great.
So I wanted to talk to you. So you've been doing this for a good while now, a couple of years. Had
Ooh.
amazing success. Is there anything that you've learned this year that you were surprised by? This in 2023, as we're coming to
That
as
I've been
2023
able
coming to a close.
that I've been able to maintain this loss, and I still stay keto. Don't get me wrong. I'm not as strict as I was in the beginning, but I do not typically ever go off plan for anything. Even Thanksgiving, there was mashed potatoes, there was sweet potatoes, there were so many desserts that were not keto. And they had made a turkey and a ham, and I had some of each of that. I had made Nisha's cornbread stuffing. I brought that. I made 6 kinds of keto chow fudge and brought those, some of each of that. And I made keto cranberry sauce using Wendy's recipe. And I brought that. And that's what I ate. And then my niece that's keto, she made Maria Emmerich's pecan cheesecake. And I ate a little piece of that. And that was it. That was what I had. Oh, and she made some egg white rolls, like dinner roll size. I had 2 of those with butter. That was my meal. That was, I don't typically, now, once in a great while, I'll get something that I really shouldn't have that has way sugar in it that just tastes good, but it makes me sick.
Yeah.
A twofold reason, and I've talked about it on my channel. I have, when I had my gastric bypass in 2007, a couple years after that, I found out I would get these hypoglycemic episodes, so low blood sugar episodes. And it was because I was eating the carby stuff and the sugary things. And my pancreas would have to kick out so much insulin to offset those carbs. And it would bring my blood sugars really low. So much so that there were times it was down in the 40s.
Mm.
And, I felt horrible. Well, I started researching low blood sugar after gastric bypass. And I found this blog of post gastric bypass patients that have suffered these same things, the same symptoms. And some of them had suffered brain damage because of it. Some had to have their pancreas removed.
Ooh.
There were so many, it scared the heck out of me. So I went to my doctor and I said, I think I have this. And we were still in New Hampshire. And he had never heard of it. But he researched it the way I did. He found the same blog I found. He said, I think you might be right. And after that, he thanked me so much for bringing that to his attention. He says, I have a lot of patients that are complaining about this. He said, you helped me out a lot. But so if I eat anything off plan, if I don't eat enough protein to offset it, that happens still. So yeah, it's not worth it to me because it just makes me feel really, really bad to go any off plan, without without knowing what I've got coming at me. It's
Right.
crazy. And with Brian being a diabetic, I saw his lows and highs on his blood sugars pre-keto, and I knew what it was happening. So yeah, it was just crazy. So that's the repercussions of that bypass surgery. They tell you in the support meetings, or they did our group, don't eat white potatoes, eat sweet potatoes. Don't eat white rice, eat brown rice. Don't eat the white breads, eat the dark breads. All of it's carby food, as we know now. So that just created the problem. It just went with it. Plus, I like my chocolate, and the dark chocolate crept its way right back into my life. And it was like when I was recuperating from knee surgeries, I've had both knees replaced. The second one got infected. So I was off my feet for a long time. And my husband and my son, every time they'd go out, "What do you want anything?" Dark chocolate. Hell yeah. Because I loved it. And that's all I could do. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get up and move even much at all. At one point, my leg, the doctor immobilized my leg because I had a spot that wasn't healing. And it was just crazy. So, yeah, if I had been eating this way back then, I may have been able to avoid not just the gastric bypass, but the knee surgeries. And so you just never know.
And
But
even if you had the knee surgeries, you probably would have healed a little faster as
right,
well, right? I mean,
right. The
because
first
as
one
we
went
know, that's a
really
major
well.
diabetes thing, is not
Right,
being able to heal as fast.
right. The first one went really well. It was back in 2014, and I didn't think anything of it when 3 years later I was having the left one done, and it was like, oh, it was a, it was a kick in the butt. Yeah, it was tough, but I survived, and I'm good. I'm good.
That's amazing. But it's crazy because it's kind of like with gastric bypass and the surgery, it seemed to be like the wonder drug of the day, right? Back then, like they were kind of, you're overweight, they're basically giving it to anybody and everybody
Mhm.
without really fully understanding the ramifications that they were going to be coming into, right? So it's like anything that we've done in human history, once we kind of hit like the Industrial Revolution, everything that we're doing has some kind of downstream effect that we're just not aware of. We can't imagine it, or we're not necessarily looking for it, or we don't care, right? So
Right.
we're looking at, we have an obesity epidemic. So what are we going to do? Well, let's cut people's stomachs out.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm obviously oversimplifying it, but we're going to cut people's stuff out. You know what I mean? And sew them back together, and that way the food that they eat, all this food that they eat, is just going to kind of go right through them, so to speak, and they'll lose weight. Well, that sounds good on paper,
Mhm.
but then we have people who go and do this, and I've seen it where they go and do it, they have it done, they lose a good amount of weight, and then they continue eating the way that they were eating before, obviously a little slower at first because you have to kind of re-stretch your stomach to a degree, right?
Oh, yeah, your stomach's about the size of a golf ball right after
Yeah,
they do it. You can't fit much in there.
yeah.
Now it's like I can eat a good amount, and it doesn't bother me. If I eat too fast, it bothers me because then I can just I can get sick. But I can eat a fair amount of protein at any given time, and thank goodness I can do that because this wouldn't have been too good for me if I couldn't get the protein in. But
I
yeah,
saw a question up here. So Stacy was asking, she was like that she makes chicken 2.0 crust and then they add what they want. She said can't do tomato stuff anymore. She's like, basically tell us about the sticks. Basically the breadsticks, if you will, at the pizza place is another variation of a fathead dough. Um,
with bacon
she
on
wouldn't
it,
give
it
me the
was
recipe, so I'm
amazing.
not exactly sure. I think it is a cheeseless crust. I don't think there's any cheese in it, but I think that's what she would tell me about it. Um, and it's just like crackery, crunchy, has a good flavor to it. It reminds me sort of like the old Totino's party pizzas, the little square one. Well, they used to be round, now they're square, but or rectangle rather. But it kind of reminds me of those with the crispiness, and that's why I like them so much.
They're very, very good. There is no sauce on them, Stacy. I don't think there is even a white
No,
sauce.
there's not. I've had them make them with sauce, but they get upset with me.
They give you something to dip them in. I don't even use
Yeah,
that. They were. They were awfully good.
And we've got, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Are you familiar?
Simpson is all I can. Simpson Johns.
Well, thank you so
Good
much for being
morning.
here. I know she's on your side because you're
Yes.
streaming this live on your channel as
Mhm.
well. And we've got Danny's in the house, and we've got Fairbrick Studios,
Yep.
and Renee is here.
Hello.
And we've got Taylor Ann is here. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Taylor.
Oh, some new faces. I love it.
Yes. That's great. What did Mary say? Look at the shot that came out.
She said her name is actually Cynthia or Cindy. Okay.
So is mine.
What a coincidence.
Yes. Excuse me. Can you hear the dog snoring down here?
No.
Okay, because he's snoring. He's right here. That's funny. But yeah,
So,
it was
yeah.
the gastric bypass is an adventure that I wouldn't suggest anybody do unless there's a serious medical reason to do so. I mean, I was almost 300 pounds when I decided to have it done. And I was trying to run away from heart disease and high blood pressure, which I had already had. Diabetes was in my family. There was so much. And, you know, my mom had the arthritic knees. My dad and my mom both died of a heart attack. My dad was only 56 and my mom was 74. And I'm like, the older I get, the more frightening that is, you know? So that was back then. I thought that was my only recourse to take care of myself. And, you know, Brian, he was so supportive, but he was so scared at the same time. And he says, I love you the way you are. It does not matter to me. You do what you need to do for you. Because I told him I didn't love myself. So, yeah. But it was a bad thing to do.
It is so difficult because I know exactly what you mean when you say that you don't love yourself. Because that's a major component, I think, in our community.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, a lot of us come from that place where we don't love ourselves. I mean, we love who we are to a degree, right? But we think there's something wrong with us or we don't look the way we should because, and I know coming from where I did, I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to do. I would do all the different diets, trying, low fat and all that stuff. And nothing seems to work. So you figure you're just broken.
Yeah. Oh, I tried it all. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I tried, sorry. I tried so many different diets and things. It was just nuts. But I mean, things are so much better now. Isn't it? Everything. It was just amazing. And it's not just the weight loss. It was the getting rid of the blood pressure meds, improving the A1C numbers and knowing that, hey, I'm not pre-diabetic anymore. That's amazing. And, just so much that no more back pain. I suffered from that for a long time. But yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, I hear somebody stirring. It's right there where he slept. There he is. He's over there. But yeah,
Right.
it's
I was going to say, I know, because my mom passed away at 59, if I'm not trying to do the math in my head. She passed away in 2013 from complications of stroke. She'd had multiple strokes and heart attacks over the years, was in and out of nursing homes for a long time. And I'm, over 300, 400 pounds all this time. So I just assumed, my whole outlook was, well, I guess that's just going to be me too. And I didn't take after my actual birth father. He was an alcoholic, or is an alcoholic. But I didn't take that, right? I didn't go down that path, thankfully.
That's good.
But yeah. I mean, I had a very large predisposition for that because my mother's father was an alcoholic, my father alcoholic, so there's obviously a predisposition for that. But I mean, my grandfather passed away when I was 4, and my father was never in my life more than a week or so at a time here and there. So I didn't have that visually in my life, and my mom never drank. I mean, I think I saw her drink 2 beers in my life, maybe, you know. So I didn't have that, but we ate. We ate. That was our bonding, was eating and watching movies and eating unhealthy stuff. So I just figured that was just going to be the way it was for me. And then when she passed away, I was like, well, that's just going to be how it goes. I'm going to die early too. And I mean, you do feel that hopelessness.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing I can do.
That's like when I turned 56. That was the year. That's how old my dad was when he died. And I didn't start keto until I was 62. And, I'm thinking, oh, wow, I surpassed, when I turned 57, I said, I surpassed my dad's age. Now I'm inching towards my mom's, and it's going pretty quick. But yeah, so it's you get this feeling like, holy crap, that's going to be me, like you said. And what do I do? There's nothing. I mean, when it's your time to go, you're going to go. It doesn't matter what you're doing or how healthy you've made yourself or anything else. However, you want to try to be the best that you can be and feel the best that you can feel with the time you have left for your loved ones, for everybody around you. My son always told me, he said, Mom, I won't be able to live if something happens to you.
It's difficult to lose a parent. I mean, when we all eventually, well, I would say most of us, all of us eventually go through it. I mean, obviously, unless you go before they do or whatever the case is, but it's definitely a very difficult thing to go through, especially when you see a parent struggle for so long with their own battles.
Yeah.
And I still have guilt and shame and things that I wasn't able to do more for my mom because I wasn't able to take care of her at home, and she had to be in a nursing home a lot. She was a bigger woman, so she'd like lost mobility on half of her side of her body. So there was just a lot of things that I didn't have the ability to take care of.
All right.
And
I can remember my mom had some TIAs, a transient ischemic attack. They're like mini strokes. The first time she had one, I was up the street from our house, and I had lived with my mom upstairs, rented from her, but my brother came running up the street. Something's wrong with Mom. So I went running back to the house, and I'm in there. And I'm like, Mom, and she wouldn't answer. She wouldn't. It was like she was asleep, but not asleep. She was just not. And then within a couple minutes, she's out of it. And in the meantime, obviously I had called the paramedics, and, I called my sisters and told them, and Mom comes out of it, and the paramedics are standing there. And one of them had told me that that's probably what it was, is a TIA. And she was so angry with me because now she's fine, for calling the paramedics. What are you doing? What are you doing? There's nothing wrong with me. But when she's first coming out of it, she didn't know who I was, where she was, it was horrifying. That happened like a couple more times after that. before they finally got her on a medication to help prevent the attacks. But the last one was so horrifying. She had shoulder issues where she couldn't really raise her arm much. But the last time it happened, they took her in the ambulance. Well, they put her in. She was a bigger woman. She was short, but she was heavy. And they put her in one of those chairs that they had to go down steps. And I'm telling you, she had grip on the door frame, both arms, her bad one and of the door frame, yelling at the top of her lungs, "What are you doing?" My mom was one that would never bring attention to herself for any reason. She was very, always very fun loving and just happy. And she would never have made a spectacle of herself in public. It would not have mattered what was going on. But for her to do this, the neighbors are coming out their doors. She is literally screaming, "Get out, don't take me anywhere. You can't take me out of my house." And I'm like, "Mom, calm down." But yeah, it was bad. It was like, holy cow. But, after that, like I said, they gave her medication to help prevent the attacks. And thankfully it worked. And she was fine. In fact, the day she died, I had gotten a call, but at 7:30 in the morning, she was getting ready to go bathe for the day. She had to wear a boot on one leg because she had messed up her one ankle real bad years before. And she went in, and an hour later, she was dead. She had gotten bathed. She had her boot back on, but that's all she managed to get done. And my sister was there, my oldest sister, and her daughter, when she went in to bathe herself, and an hour later, they're knocking on the bathroom door because obviously it's locked. And there was no answer. And she was gone. It was, the only grace thing of that is she went quick, and she was fine going. She wasn't sick. She felt great. She was laughing and joking with them when she went in to go take her bath. And, I said she wasn't going to go anywhere without bathing. She got that part done because she had her boot on her foot. But yeah, my brother had come down and get the door off the hinges so they could find her in all her glory, laying on the bathroom floor. Yeah.
So I used to take care of my grandmother, and I always feared that I would be the one because she had an apartment and I lived with her as I had moved in back in like 2004, 2005 to move in with her and my mom because I had my own apartment and I was giving it up to move in with them to help them out. And then my mom had all of her strokes and was gone a lot, so I was there for grandma a lot. And then mom passed away, so I stuck around. So when Shannon and I got together, I was spending half my time with my grandmother and half the time here, and then as time went on, I spent more and more time here. And but I was always terrified that I was going to be the one to find grandma because she was, I lived with her.
Mm-hmm.
I come home, I was always afraid. You know what I mean? Like even just going to the house, sometimes she'd be asleep, and I'd just stop and listen. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like you do with kids, right? So, like,
Yep.
I don't know what I would do. Like, I have every reason to stick around as long as I possibly can for that granddaughter of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say thank you for bringing her that bag and the.
I'm going to tell you, she is the cutest little thing. She's adorable.
Yeah, we took her to Cole. We were at Kohl's yesterday, and she picked out this blanket, a little mermaid blanket because it's pink. Mm-hmm. And she was carrying it around, and as we would walk by and anybody would pay any attention to her, she would tell them, "This is for my big girl bed at Mom and Pa's house."
That's cute.
She would tell anybody that would listen. So she's definitely a character, and she loves people. She takes a little while sometimes to warm up, but once she does, she's, your best friend for life.
Yeah. She kept watching Brian while we were sitting there. She kept looking at him like, she didn't say much, but she kept looking at him. And then she would talk to him. It was cute. I gotta
Yes.
say, I've been watching the chat, and Cindy Simpson, however you want to go by, I am so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom just passed this spring, and her dad 2 years ago.
So rough.
It is, and it's thanks to, that that's a part of life. Death is a part of life, and unfortunately, it's horrible. It's the worst part.
Because with my mom, I know, like because it was a sudden type thing, but it was years and years of having lots of calls and lots of, getting calls in the middle of the night and such. You go and you run it, but it always turns out to be, nothing major. So like the night that she died was another one of those things. Like we were getting ready to go out to spend time with friends. Friends were in town, and we were getting ready to go do it. So we get the call, this is going on. So we go rush out to go see her, and that was the night she passed away. And so you kind of feel bad because you had those initial thoughts, like here we go again type things.
Yeah.
And then you feel bad because there's some, when someone who's gone through so much passes, it's kind of a relief
Yeah.
that they're not going through that stuff anymore because it was so hard on her for so long.
Right.
Then you feel bad about having that feeling because you know what I mean? You wrestle with all these emotions and you wrestle with all these feelings that kind of come over you. And I know they're all normal and they're all part of the process of grieving and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Just so many things I wish I could have done differently over the years, especially coming from where we are now and the knowledge that I have now. If I had the knowledge that I have now back then, I don't know if she would have listened or done anything about it, but I could have tried. Does that make sense? I don't know. And I know you, in hindsight's always 2020 and all of that, but it's still something that I think about from time to time because, we do go and we do push and we try to get this information out there the best way we can, knowing that we're not doctors, we're not medical professionals, we're not, none of those people, but we're sharing our experiences and the things that have worked for us, hopefully putting it out there enough to where somebody who was like me 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and so long before may stumble across it and it may help them in their journey to become healthy, better off, so they don't look at themselves in the mirror the same way that we did, and they don't look at themselves the way that we did, and they don't have those feelings that we did, because that self-loathing, that the regret, all of the the shame, the all the self-hatred, all that stuff, all the just not loving yourself, all that stuff takes such a huge toll on us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could do just something like that, this where we get up at the crack of dawn to talk, to share our stories, so hopefully somebody will run across these videos and take the time to watch and hopefully find it useful and beneficial to either themselves or someone they love. I mean, it's the least that we can do.
Right. I mean, that's why I started my channel in the first place, is to maybe if I could just help one person get better health wise, then it's all worth it. But yeah, it's been pretty rough, John.
So Joe's here. John Gugahan is here.
And Taylor, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I totally understand about the loss of your husband. It's even though you're remarried now, you're still going to miss him, obviously.
Oh yeah, I couldn't imagine that. And I know that it's kind of morbid, but I joke with Chandra all the time. Like, if you leave me, I'm always like driving around when I'm doing things. I see like these little like studio apartments, and I'm like, I'll just live in one of those. I'll just live by myself in solitude.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's so silly, but I'm just like, I don't want to because it took so long for me to find her, to find someone that was good for me,
Oh,
and
I know. I worry
it's
about Brian
difficult,
all the time.
like the idea of having to go back out again and try to find somebody else. I'm like, I don't want, I'm just going to live by myself. I'm just going to find a nice overpass and live underneath it.
You know,
I know it's silly, but
no, I worry about Brian all the time, with him being type 1 diabetic and he has this dystonia that, he's had the surgery for. You saw him the other day. He has a little twitch in his neck,
right.
you know. He had that deep brain stimulation surgery
Hmm.
to help prevent all that. And it's just a progressive thing that's going to continuously get worse and worse as it goes. Luckily, this surgery has helped it so much that if he has it's controlled with an iPod that he carries around. He has a couple leads in his brain. He's got little
Hmm.
bumps right here, and he has leads that go in and they're attached to a battery that's in his chest. And it was like, what if he has to have an MRI, which he had to a while back? They have to turn that off. He can't walk. That's how bad it is, and how much good the surgery did. It's horrifying. But thankfully, that surgery helped, even though that was like scarier than anything to have brain surgery.
Because I think we in this community, we dump on medical professionals a lot. And I think it's a good amount of it's warranted.
Mhm.
And because a lot of it is the status quo, not keeping up with literature, not keeping up with what's going on, not necessarily listening to their patients. But I think there's still a lot of things that happen in the medical community that is extremely surprising. Like things like Brian's surgery,
Mhm.
being able to figure that type of stuff out,
Yep.
help him with that issue. And I mean, there's lots and lots of other things that go along with all kinds of surgeries that they're able to perform. I think we get bogged down with the idea that they do so much unnecessary
Right.
surgeries and such. I mean, it may seem necessary to the people that are getting them, whether it's gastric bypass, the gastric sleeves. I'm actually kind of surprised that there is kind of a 6 month um, window where you go through and you have like meetings and such for a gastric bypass, right?
Oh, there was a lot. I had to go through support group meetings. I had to go to a psych evaluation. I had to go for so many different things to make sure, and so many support group meetings, if I didn't already say that. But there was so much doctor's appointments left and right. They wanted to make sure not only you were physically prepared, and we had to lose some weight beforehand, because the first place when you lose weight, the first place you lose it is around your liver. And for them to be able to do what they had to do, it cleared that fat away from the liver, which was important. So, you have to lose a percentage of your weight. You have to go to so many support meetings. You have to go for a psych evaluation to make sure you're mentally prepared for that surgery. But what they don't tell you is, yes, you can have all these issues afterwards. And, it's like, and they have to know about them, because it's so prevalent from what I found. And when I did my video on the gastric bypass, I included a link that tells a lot of this stuff that I talked about. And it was just, they don't tell you that stuff. They don't tell you the bad things. You know, you go through all this stuff. You jump through all these hoops to be able to do it, thinking you're going to better your life and you're going to better your health. And in the interim, here's all this stuff coming down the road afterwards that can happen to you because of it. That stuff is never talked about. And that was like, And, Dr. Sivas, he seems like a fantastic doctor. And he is a bariatric surgeon who tries to prevent his patients from having surgery. That's fantastic because I didn't have that. I didn't have that. It was like my husband, he was my biggest supporter, like I said, but I needed to do it for me. I needed to lose the weight. I needed to feel better. And I did. I lost like 90 pounds, but then, in about a year or so, I lost a bunch of hair right here because of it. But I also started gaining that weight back because I'm eating the way they told me to, with addition to the dark chocolate. But
Cindy asked this question. She says she's not familiar with me. And did I have a gastric surgery also? I did not. Now, it was a discussion that Shander and I had when we decided that it was time to go in a direction of weight loss, trying to lose weight. So, a quick backstory for me: I started this journey in 2016. Was in the process of doing two different things. I was in the process of getting a CPAP to help me breathe when I sleep because I had severe sleep apnea, and I was getting a umbilical hernia fixed because it was pretty bad. It was like the size of a fist coming out of my belly button. And the skin on the outside was getting very, very, very thin. And so Shannon and I decided to talk because as I was going to the doctor for all of these things, I was on the scale and I saw that I was over 420 pounds. So that was one of those basically sledgehammer to the face because when you get to that big, you're that big. There were obviously telltale signs that I was that big personally for me to see. There were things like I was starting to buy 50-inch pants, and I wore my pants. I still do wear my pants under the belly and not over, like on the waist where they say the waist is and such. I was wearing 5X t-shirts. I was no longer able to use the bathroom in our house that's downstairs. I had to go upstairs to use the restroom. There was restrooms in public that I could not use. There was just a lot of things like that, kind of a culmination of things like that happening that were all kind of snowballing at the same time. So when we decided that it was time to lose weight and it was time to make changes, we talked about the gastric bypass or weight loss surgery as a whole. And so my wife is an RN, and she worked at the time on a floor that dealt with a lot of pancreatic surgeries, things that are called Whipples, which I won't get into, but also a lot of the gastric bypass and weight loss surgery issues that come up years down the road. So things that people have to come in and have repaired after they've had these weight loss surgeries for years. So she would see these complications coming back in and have to have these surgeries. So that was a definite thing that we had to discuss. And she didn't think that it was right to start there. And with that, we decided to try low carb. And as I've been a big person, obviously we had no idea what low carb was. Because low carb, if you look up like the definition of low carb for, the American Diabetes Association, it's a very drastically different definition from what we look at it as now, or as far as this community looks at it. So we were looking at like less than 300 grams of carbohydrates a day and that type of stuff. But I kind of just wanted to briefly touch on, I was lucky enough when I had my hernia surgery, Shander had recommended a doctor that worked at her hospital, and we went in to see him, and we had about a 35-minute discussion about how I probably wouldn't need surgery. Most people don't need surgery, and he's going on and on about basically why he doesn't like to do surgery on most people, which was refreshing, but I was like, okay, but do you want to see it? Do you want to see it? And finally he was like, okay, show it to me. So I pulled my shirt up and he goes, okay, your surgery's in 2 weeks.
yeah.
But no, to answer your question, Cindy, I have not had gastric bypass. I was thankfully had my wife, who is a nurse and was in the field that she's in, and we were able to fall into the right choices, which led to keto and led us to where we are now. I'm still not to the weight that I want to be, but I'm still chugging along.
Yep. It's a nasty thing, and it was a wise decision for you not to have it done. I mean,
I keep her.
you've lost how much total so far?
Um, so I started at like 421 ish pounds. That's the day. That's one day. I don't know how big I actually was in the grand scheme of things, but then I got down to as low as like 273, and then the world shut down, and now I'm about 325.
Mhm. See,
So I've lost over 100, like about 100 pounds.
that's when I started keto when the world was shut down. So
Yeah.
I was like, but I wasn't. I was retired and wasn't doing anything. And I seriously, when I tell people I lost 100 pounds sitting on my rear end, that's exactly how I did it. I didn't get out and exercise. I didn't go for walks. I didn't do any of that. The beginning, you were afraid to go out of the house because of the big C. And, so it was like, hello. I literally sat there and lost 100 pounds. Keeping it off is another story. Now we go and, we go and do things. We join the gym, we go for walks, we do all of that. So, yeah, it, but I mean, people say, oh, you got to exercise to lose weight. You don't. I am proof positive. You do not. You might have to exercise to keep it off and to maintain that. But as long as you're eating right, you know, that's where it's at. That's the biggest health indicator is you are what you put in your mouth. And that was a hard lesson to learn, you know. I enjoy things. Chalk Zero, I love it. Keto Chow, obviously, without a doubt. But other than that, most of our food is meat or meat based. Some cheese. Other than there's those things: meat, keto chow, chalk zero. Those are the three things in my life, except my husband. Food wise, that's it. And the different things you can do with keto chow. And Dustin, if you haven't made their fudge, oh my word, is it good?
You brought me some, but I still have a couple of pieces left. I've been holding on to it. I ate some the other night. I'm like, while we were getting stuff ready Wednesday night, I was sitting down and eating some, and so thankful you sent that to me. We were watching cheesy Christmas movies and like almost like not quite Hallmark level, but not much better. You know what I mean? Like just cheesy Netflix Christmas
Now
movies.
I like Hallmark movies. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really easy to make and it's so good and so many variations to do so. So what's going to be your first ice cream? We got to get off these rough subjects because
I know. I was thinking to myself, like, this is like, okay, so I understand that it's like depressing to talk about this stuff, but I think it is so important
it is
because
important.
because there's so many people who have all these same feelings as us and have been through similar things as us, and you don't want people to continue feeling alone. You want people to know that there's others out there that have feel just like them,
Yep.
because when you're going through it all, you feel alone. And you feel like there is nobody out there that can understand anything you're going through.
Yep.
And to know that that is totally not the case, that relieves so much pressure. And getting into a community like this and all you amazing people, where we can then get into things like keto chow fudge and ice cream and
Mhm.
like I'm super excited because like you look at Keto Chow, like I can eat a whole pint of ice cream that is literally like sub 10 total carbs,
Yeah.
depending
That's
on
your
how you make
meal.
it or whatever, right?
That's your meal too. And it's like
Yeah.
that's what we do. If we're gonna have ice cream, because he likes a lot of different flavors that I do that I don't like. Sorry. And so I'll fix what he wants and then I make my own. So when we have ice cream, it's never splitting one because I'm not crazy about the snickerdoodle and the eggnog and the gingerbread and all those kind of flavors. He loves them, you know. And then there's mine that I really like, and he's all right with them, you know. But anything that's chocolate is like tops for me. But I'll tell you what I did. The last time I mixed strawberry cream and orange cream together, and man, that was good.
Was it?
That was really good. Yes.
So I know I've had orange cream. I've had orange cream as a creamy, blueberry pie as a creamy, and I think snickerdoodle as a creamy because we made 3 different flavors because that's how many containers we had when Jackie lent us her creamy.
Now you
So
have 7. You just
I
got
have
room in your
well,
freezer.
I have 7. I have
7?
7.
That's
7.
7. 7 is awesome.
7. I'm
That
not
was
good at
good.
math, so you know. But I'm looking. I don't know. I'm probably going to do a birthday cake, a butterscotch. I don't know. I got to dig through all my flavors. I know I'm going to probably do a couple core flavors
Mhm.
and maybe a mystery flavor. We'll see.
That is so amazing. Haven't you tried it yet?
I haven't. No,
Oh my goodness, Dustin. Did you place your order for some?
no, because I haven't tried it yet. I don't
Sorry,
want to order more if I don't like it.
use my link. No, I'm just
I mean, really, that's what everybody should do. Just go make the rounds and order stuff from everybody's link every time you order. There's plenty of us out there. You should probably never ever have to pay full price.
it's just incredible that when keto chow works so well for Brian with his blood sugars. I'm like, I know this is a win because there's when you're type 1 diabetic, you're limited on so many things other than protein that really don't affect you. It's just so limited and he enjoys it. And that's a bonus for me. So
So there's what that was a thing when I first started doing keto. The big thing was high fat, moderate protein, low carb. Right. That was the keto mantra
right.
in 2016 when I started. And the main reason for moderate protein was the idea that eating too much protein would kick in gluconeogenesis and your body would turn excess protein into glucose, therefore raising your blood sugar. And as we know, depending on how much protein Brian consumes, his body doesn't do that as far as a reaction, only as a demand device, as I imagine that you found. Correct?
I think so, yeah. He
So, I
does
mean,
really good. His blood sugars have pretty much leveled off, with the exception of like Wednesday. I don't know what happened. It could have been, like I said, the start of him not feeling well. Even though he felt fine, he felt great Wednesday and Thursday, but yesterday morning, oh, not so much. But he, I don't know. When we eat at home, which is most of the time, we do go out quite a bit. But like we'll fix steaks, or I'll have, God knows it's in my videos. Everything we've eaten is like weekly. um, I'll take the brown ground beef that I have in the refrigerator, usually always. And we'll either put taco seasoning with it, and we put that over Quest chips with some sour cream and some Mexican cheese, and we'll have that for a meal. Or we'll take some of that browned ground beef and put it in a skillet with some butter and put some scrambled eggs in it and some cheese, and we'll have that. And it's great. It's so versatile what you can do with that to have it on hand. But it's mostly animal products. When we go out, he eats broccoli. He'll eat some vegetables more so than I do. I've gotten to the point now, if I go out and I get a side, it'll be a salad without the croutons, of course. And it's good. It's just whatever he's doing, however he's eating, it's working. And that's amazing. For his A1C to be 6.1, that's just utterly amazing to me for a type 1. When he started keto a couple weeks after I did, his A1C was 7.9. And the last one just a couple weeks ago was 6.1.
And did you say the doctor wanted him to raise it?
She didn't want him to go any lower than 6.6 on his previous visit. So within 3 months, he went from 6.6 to 6.1. And when we were there, she said, I'm okay with that. However, she's still trying to get him on a statin. And his lipid numbers are fine. He was on a statin for years. And he finally questioned it after he kind of half listens when I'm watching videos in there in the other room. And when he heard Dr. Berry talk about statins so much, about how bad they were and all this, he asked me one day, he said, why am I taking this statin? I'm like, I don't know. His lipid panel is fine. And all we can get from the doctor, from his endocrinologist, is that people with diabetes, they would prefer them being on a statin to help prevent a heart attack from happening, because diabetes can affect your heart and all your other organs, as we know. I mean, it does a number on your whole body. However, I said to her, well, how about this? And I mean, I am Brian's advocate for everything, because I see him daily and how he is, and when his blood sugars are up, how it makes him feel, and when they're down, and to have them leveled off is just fantastic. But I said to her, how about if he does this, doesn't take the statin, and in a few months you have his blood work checked again. If there's realistic reason for him to be on a statin, then it's different. There's no reason for it. All his blood work is great. It's like, and then when they keep checking his A1C every time he goes in there, every 3 months, and it's coming lower and lower, and she's like, okay, she don't know what to say anymore, because I'm going to rebuttal it no matter what she says. And I asked her.
I was going to say, I see that the doctors kind of use a statin as not a Band-Aid, but they give them to everybody, because I think they figure if everybody's on one, then they can rest a little easier that they're doing something to help protect people from heart attacks.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I have those high CAC scores that I've talked about. And I went to the cardiologist in June of 22 for the first time. I had an EKG done that was a little abnormal. So he sent me for an echocardiogram, which came back normal. And he wanted to put me on a statin. And I had previously talked to the nurse, that visit in June of 22. I said, I don't even talk to me about a statin, because years ago, a doctor had put me on them because my cholesterol was a little up. And I was really, really heavy. And I couldn't move my arms. I quit taking it and the pain went away. I said, I will not take another one. She said, all right, you're allergic to statins. And she put it on my chart. as with my allergies to dust and pollen, statins. It's okay. So fast forward a year, I go back to the cardiologist, and he's like looking at my chart. Now she had gone over it, reiterated about the statins and all that. I'm like, yep, it's all that. The doctor himself comes in. Now my lipid panel is good. Everything, everything's great. No even mention of my numbers, cholesterol numbers, nothing. He said, I can't get you to take a statin. He's got my chart right in front of his face that says I'm allergic to statins, and he's trying to get me to take it. That is a malpractice suit, big time, when your doctor is trying to get you to take something you're allergic to.
And it kind of brings us to Mary's question here. So she's like, would you think doctors would ask what he's doing and do some research? Well, here's the issue with that. And this is where I do give doctors some leeway, because you figure, as sick as we are, doctors have maybe 2 to 5 minutes with each patient a day, and they're seeing 50 to 60 patients a day, maybe more, depending on what kind of doctor they are. So you figure they're seeing that many patients, they're spending that little time with each patient. That's why I think we get to that system that we're in now, where it's like, okay, let's love it. Here's a statin. Here's a statin. Here's a statin. They're just running people through. With that, there's so much time allocated. There's zero allocation for further education. They're not going home and sitting on the couch and reading new literature. They're not going and trying to find out what's updated with things. They're only going based on what their drug reps tell them. Yeah. Their drug reps come in, however, quarterly, monthly, whatever the case is, and they sit them down and go, we've got this. We want to, this is this new thing. Here's what your things are. And here you go. And then the doctor goes, cool, we got a new drug to help take care of XYZ. Without ever looking at any research, looking at any literature, looking at any true side effects. As far as I'm aware, like I said, I'm not a doctor or a healthcare professional, but this is my outside looking in view of things. So,
well, when we were at his endo office this last time, well, let me go back to my cardiologist. When I told him, when he said, I can't get you to take a statin, I said, no. I said, not only does my chart say I'm allergic to it, but when I did take it years ago, and I reiterated what happened, he's like, what, you don't want to deal with the pain? And I'm like, no, I don't. Hell no. So anyway, with Brian.
What kind of question is that?
He's an idiot.
That doesn't make any sense.
You don't want to deal with the pain? Yeah. Would you like to deal with the pain? Because, So with Brian's endo, I asked her, I said, have you ever heard of Dr. Bernstein? I said, because he has a fantastic book out called Diabetes Solution. And he's a type 1 diabetic who's in his 80s, still practicing medicine. And the book is fantastic. I said, maybe you should get it and read it. She had never heard of it. And I said, well, considering this is what you do for a living, I felt like saying to her, maybe you should pick this book up and get a perspective of a physician who is dealing with the type 1 diabetes since he was 12 years old. And he's in his 80s and doing great. It's amazing. Brian was diagnosed at the age of 2. So he's had it for 59 years,
That's crazy. Because usually not something that kind of gets diagnosed or doesn't happen until like early teens.
No, this was back then, Dustin, it was labeled juvenile diabetes. That's and they changed that to type 1. I don't know when people started getting diagnosed later in life, I guess. I mean, I've lately been watching and seeing people that are diagnosed in their later years as type 1. It's horrible. It's just horrible.
I want to take Taylor has put some stuff in the chat. I kind of want to look at it. So
Yes.
she's saying that all of your success stories are inspiring to me. Overall, my health looks good, but I have a lot of hormonal related issues and always have. My thyroid had to be removed also.
And then she
And
went on. Yeah.
she says, now I've been having bouts of hypoglycemia where my glucose bottoms out around 60. I've been watching some videos and think it's because I'm headed to pre-diabetes, insulin resistance. And she says, I have got to stick with keto low carb. It would help me so much. I would agree
Absolutely.
that in my understanding of how keto interacts with hypoglycemia is that if you are in a ketogenic state, blood sugars dropping low isn't as impactful if you have the ketones in your body as well. So elevated ketones, lowered glucose levels in the bloodstream kind of counterbalances itself. That's my understanding. Again, not a healthcare professional, not a doctor, any of those things,
I
but
think
that's
that
my
would depend.
basic understanding.
I think that would depend on how low and how it made you feel when you went low.
Right.
Because if you're not feeling well, like when I would get the hypoglycemic episodes, there were times that it would drop in the 40s. And I remember my son coming over, my son came over to see me one day, and when we were still living in New Hampshire, and he came to give me a kiss on my forehead. He said, Mom, you're sweating bullets. And I felt like garbage. And I had already bought myself a meter so I could keep an eye on it. I asked him to go get it for me, and my blood sugar was at 49. And I'm like, it was just horrible. So I would say, and again, like Dustin said, we're not medical professionals. I have nothing in the medical field. However, if you feel good, I wouldn't worry about the numbers. If you feel bad, definitely get something to eat, because you've got to bring that up to where you feel good. That's just because it can do such a number on your brain and everything when your sugars are low, if it's bothering you.
Right.
The black specks in front of your eyes, when you're looking at something, the vision will be off. There's just so much, and the sweating and all of that. That's when you know there's a problem. Because I've been through it. It's just horrible. Brian, if he has a low blood sugar, he goes through it. But then there's times where, like with him being on a pump, yes, Dr. Berry does have videos.
If Mary, if you want to put that link in the chat, that would be helpful. Because you are a moderator, you can put that link in the chat, and then people can click on it.
Yeah, Taylor says, when I do drop low, I feel horrible. It's scary. It definitely is.
And she says that if she's doing keto or sticking with keto, she doesn't drop low. So
yeah,
so being able to stick with keto, and my advice as far as what I do to stick with maintaining a ketogenic lifestyle is you have to find the balance. And I don't necessarily like that word, finding balance, but you do have to find a balance of what works not only best for you, but is sustainable for you.
yeah.
So I was saying something like last week. There's a graph. It's like what works best versus what's sustainable. So you got to find your spot. What's going to be the best for you to maintain, and then what's going to be sustainable. Because you can find and do everything in your power for what's best, but if it's not sustainable, then it's not going to work for you long term. So you got to find that perfect balance of sustainability with what makes you stick in a ketogenic lifestyle, if that's what you're aiming for. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, Cindy.
Matreya's got a good message there for her too.
So Dr. Elizabeth Bright for Hormones Ready. I've been trying to get Chandra to go get hormone panels drawn for years, because Chandra's got issues. I won't necessarily get into all of them, but she's cold all the time. It doesn't matter. It could be June. She's cold. There's other things. She's tired quite a bit. There's just things that pop up that I had been looking and looking when we first started this, and I was doing a lot of rabbit hole hunting, if you will, and I ran across a podcast that Amy Berger was on, where she went down this laundry list of things that meant that your hormones were off and you needed to go get your panels checked. And she was just like ticking every single thing that Chandra had going on. And I'm like, Eureka. So I take it to her and we listen to it. And she's like, meh. I'm like, and that was like 5 or 6 years ago. I'm still struggling to get her to do that. But she's gonna be herself and drive me bananas. And so you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make her drink.
It's right. And she is a nurse.
She's a nurse. She's all about making me do what I need to do to make me better. But she won't take her own medicine. Mm-hmm. But she does stick with everything with me, and she's been there, and we do this together. But she won't do things like go get her panels run. Semi-retired Bob, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I don't even know what time it is. Good morning, semi-retired Bob. I am so glad you're here. You're up next week, sir. So, yeah. So Mary did put that video in the chat for everybody who may be interested.
Yeah, symptoms that hypoglycemia would definitely be sign of pre-diabetes. It shows too much insulin being produced, and it went away. It went up in which fatigues the pancreas. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it was horrible. They were. I have to say, when I eat right and I stay on board with keto, I don't have any of those episodes, and I was getting them so frequently. I don't have any, and it's just so refreshing. So that's when I was talking earlier. That's the second reason why I stay keto, not just to keep off of the blood pressure meds and keep everything else good, but those low blood sugar episodes, they're hard. They're hard on your body, and they're hard to deal with. And it's just, they make you feel like crap. Just put it out there. It's horrible. So yeah, if you can stay keto and prevent it, there you go. But keep it easy, Taylor. She's, the sustainability's been a problem for her, she said. The easier you make it, the better it's going to be, and the more sustainable it's going to be for you. Don't read a lot into it. Don't put a lot of thought into it. Just keep it easy.
I think the idea that lazy keto gets a bad rap, it kind of bums me out, because I'm a huge proponent of lazy keto, and the fact that I try to make things as easy for myself, because the easier it is, the more sustainable it will be for me. So I have a lazy tendency. I don't have to meal prep. I don't have to do all these things. Like even with Chandra, I meal prep for her for 2 or 3 days a week. I make a pan of steaks. I cut up 2 or 3 steaks, put them in Ziploc bags, put them in bags. I put a packet of electrolytes in there. I put some cheese in there, and or vegetables, depending if I've made some of those. Tie up the bags, put them in the fridge. She goes to work. She takes a bag. Next day she goes to work. She takes a bag. That's the extent of any kind of meal prepping that we do. Sometimes I'll throw in some boiled eggs or whatever. But for myself, I don't do any of that. Because for me, like, I can just go and make a couple of burger patties, scramble some eggs, and I'm done. And that's like the whole day. So
when I try to lazy keto, I don't think that's what they're talking about.
I know, but I mean, it gets a bad rap because lazy keto means you're not tracking everything that you're eating and all of that. And I think I found early on, because when I first started, I was using like MyFitnessPal, and I was tracking everything I was putting into my body. And I knew very quickly that if that was what was going to be required of me to live this lifestyle, I wasn't going to do it. I mean, it's just not sustainable for me to track everything I put in my mouth. Would it be better if I did? Probably, yes, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. I mean, you have to be realistic with yourself and honest with yourself. So I try to make things as easy as I can for myself
Mhm.
and eat as simply as I can, because that way I know I don't have to track. Now, I do go off and have things I shouldn't have, and that's why I have gained weight back. But if I'm doing things the way I know I should do them, it's a whole other ball game. If I'm just having my burgers and my eggs and maybe some broccoli here and there and my and my coffee, I'm good. I'm way under 20 total carbohydrates most days. I'm far under that most days. But when we talk about when the world shut down, it was probably closer to 30 or 40 carbs average per day. You know what I mean? We would have takeout food, and we would just, you kind of, that whole loneliness sets in. There's nothing you can do. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do. Everything's closed. So that takes its toll. And then we're trying to still dig our way out of that. But I think for me, understanding what I need to do for myself to be as successful as I can and not try to do too much. Because if I try to do too much, it's not going to work. Like in the very beginning, I was a huge person with making all these substitutions and trying to find how to make corn dogs and how to make all these things that I needed in my life because that's what I wanted. That's what I was used to eating in my life. Like now I have boxes and boxes of perfect keto mac and cheese in the pantry. I probably got 12 or so more boxes of it, but I don't eat it. It's good. I like it, but it's not necessarily easy as making burgers and eggs.
One time I used that and I made like a tuna casserole with that perfect keto.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
It was so good, but I added extra cheese. I'm not crazy about the powdered cheese that comes with it, like the regular mac and cheese boxes and garbage. But if you add some more shredded cheese to it and put some pork rind crumbs on the top, it was delicious. Or use it with chicken. The Taylor says in here at 8:54, Dustin.
What is it?
Taylor's comment at 8:54.
Okay. And she says, that's my issue. I watch a lot of different channels and follow people, and I get overwhelmed. Everyone says something different, and I end up feeling like I'm failing. Then I quit. That's when I fail.
Now, here's what I would say. Here's what I would say to that. I watch a lot of different channels, a lot of different cooking people that actually have their recipes and they're cooking, and I follow recipes. I don't create them, but these people are creating things and they're finding what's working for them. For instance, on Loving It on Keto, Wendy and Harry, they're doing a protocol now where it's 3 days of PSMF a week and then a refuel day and 1 day at 18-hour fast. They found what's working for them. What I do is I take little bits from all these channels and I try different things till I find what's working for me. If it doesn't work, don't beat yourself up. Don't feel like you failed. Try something different until you find that sweet spot for yourself, because it's trial and error, just like anything else in life. If you don't try something, you're not going to know if it's going to work. But definitely don't beat yourself up. Keep it easy, find what works for you. And if you want to meal prep, like I do, a lot of times I do, because it's easier for us when we want to go somewhere. I don't have to take that time to cook it. All I have to do is heat it up, maybe throw some eggs, like I was talking about the ground beef, and throw some eggs in it or whatever. But please don't feel like you failed, because just trying, you're not failing.
You're here.
Mm-hmm.
Means you care, means you want it. You want to do better. That's not failure.
And like she followed that up with knowing I have an actual insulin issues. That will keep you on track. That's what keeps me going and keeps me from, yeah, let me eat those rolls and when we go to the steakhouse because they are so delicious. But no, I know what it's going to do to me if I do. So knowing those health issues and like with your insulin, Taylor, absolutely that should help keep you on track because, you know, the other way it's going to make you feel really bad.
So she says she does meal prep. The only one doing keto in a house of teenagers. I'll tell
Mhm.
you what we did, because when we went keto, we still had two kids at home, and they went keto too. They, not by choice. We just stopped bringing stuff into the house, and they weren't old enough to drive or go to the store by themselves. So that's just what happened. Now, some people may think that that's bad or wouldn't do that to their own kids. And I mean, I say I'm not advocating for anybody else to do that necessarily, but that's what we did. They weren't happy with us, but I tell you, at the time they were in rugby, and then on top of doing and eating what we had at home, and going to rugby practice and running every day, they leaned out. They were in some of the best shape they've ever been in their life, and they were relatively happy. We would still have things at how I would still bring home carrots for them. Not something that we would eat necessarily. I'd
Mhm.
say not that the carrots are bad, but at the time, carrots were probably more sugary than we wanted to have in our diet. And we would bring in microwave popcorn for them, as they were far more active than we were.
Mhm.
So they were
Well,
going to rugby practice 5 days a week or whatever, right? So,
when I
you know,
started keto, I was the only one in the house doing it also. And I was doing all the cooking and all the grocery shopping. My adult son lived with me. He paid rent that went towards the groceries. If they didn't want to eat the way I was eating, that's fine. I cooked what they wanted. However, that didn't mean I needed to eat it. And I see a lot of comments, "Oh, this is so hard because I'm the only one in the house. How do you do it? How can I do this?" It's getting your mindset right. And I was determined when I started that this is what I was going to do. If they didn't want to, that was on them. Do they need to? Absolutely.
and I
It's
think
always up
there's
to
a
them.
missing component of communication. We see so often that we have people in our community that say, I'm struggling to do this. My spouse doesn't do it with me. My spouse is off cooking brownies or whatever. And I
Mhm.
think there's definitely a need for some communication there, saying, I'm struggling. I'm working very hard here to make myself healthy. I'm working very hard here to do what's best for me, and I need your help. And I know not everybody has relationships where that kind of communication would even matter necessarily. I would hope
Mhm.
not. But, excuse me, in our house, though, Shandra did it with me. She was reluctant. It was her idea, but she was still reluctant to do it. But she stuck with it with me the entire time,
Yeah.
over
So
7 years
Brian
now.
started like 2 weeks after I did.
Yeah.
Brian, I heated up your coffee so from yesterday. It should be nice and warm. Just put it. Yeah. So he just walked from one room to the other.
Yeah.
But anyhow, yeah, when he started, it didn't make it easier for me because it was already, I was so determined. I'm a person, if I put my mind to doing something, I'm going to do it regardless of any other circumstances around me. So it was easy for me because I had the mindset right. It took me those 3 months of my sister's probing and to get it there, but I didn't have that problem. Even before Brian started it, it was like, okay, this is what I'm going to eat. Here's your all's food. I'm good. I wasn't tempted with anything, even though I made the potatoes and I made the rice and I love all that stuff. Or I did, but it didn't tempt me because I was determined. So, and I know not everybody is like that. It's hard. It can be really hard sometimes, but it is possible. It's getting your mind in the right place because that's important. If your mindset is there, and you have that determination and you know you're going to better yourself and better your health, that should be the most important thing, is getting your health where it needs to be. Because saying this now, I would never have said this a year or so ago, but I'm in that spot where, my health has improved so much. It's just incredible. So yeah, there's that.
So like even say here, like Maitreya says, in my house I cook and everyone else eats it, and if they don't like it, then they have to acquire and fix their own. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to make multiple meals.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I made
we weren't doing anything crazy.
the protein part of it, I made for all of us. I was cooking one meal, but it was just the extra stuff that if they wanted it, they were paying towards the groceries. I didn't want them to cook in my kitchen. I didn't want them to make that mess in my kitchen. So that was on me. That was my preference because, they were already giving me money for groceries. I did not buy chips and all that garbage. I said, if you want that kind of crap, you got to buy it separate from that. But, the other stuff, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done it. But to keep peace in a very small household, I did what I needed to do to be happy.
Yeah.
And I did what I needed to do for me as well as that. But no, I didn't buy the junk foods. I did buy the potatoes and the bread and the pasta if they wanted it, and the rice. Like I said, they were contributing towards the groceries. I did all the grocery shopping. So they're contributing this, so they're buying it basically. I just prepared it because I didn't want anybody else. It was a very small house. I didn't want anybody else cooking in my kitchen because they wouldn't have cleaned up after themselves and it would have driven me nuts. I am the person now. It's just Brian and I here, but I was that person that we cooked a meal, dinner. That was the only meal that it was all together. And we all sat down together to eat. That was it. And then cleanup was done. And it was easier because it was one sitting, instead of us sitting here to eat, then them coming up to eat. And then, I would have been cleaning the kitchen for days. But no, it just made it easier because while I was cooking the meat, and if Brian wanted broccoli or, if I decided I wanted some vegetables, and then it was just that one added dish that they wanted. Everything else I made, they ate. All the protein that I made, they ate. If I wanted a broccoli casserole, they ate it. They loved it. In fact, they would ask for it. And it was just broccoli, bacon, heavy cream, everything keto. They loved it. But if they wanted that extra dish of pasta or potatoes or, whatever, I cooked it while I was cooking dinner. It took me 5 minutes, So it wasn't like I went out of my way or created two different meals because that wasn't the case. It was the protein, the vegetable, and then whatever other dish they wanted with that. So it was okay.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to make work for your own house. So, like I said, with Chandra and I, we just decided, you know what, these boys are going to get what we cook, and we weren't doing anything crazy. I mean, we just weren't making pasta because before that, we were making and living on frozen pizzas, and we were living and having ramen noodles and macaroni and cheese, like Kraft mac and cheese. I'd make like 4 boxes. Or I would go to Taco Bell and buy everybody Taco Bell on 3 nights a week because that was easy because I worked until 6 o'clock, and then by the time I would get home it'd be after 7, and then bedtime is 10, and you know what I mean. It's just like there's just only so many hours in the day, and then when we did the keto thing, then it was just, well, I'm not going to bother with cooking anything because I knew I had to be successful. And for me to be successful, I couldn't be cooking other stuff. because I would have been eating the potatoes or the rice or the macaroni and cheese or
Right.
whatever it was I'd be making for them. I just knew that it wasn't going to be sustainable for me. So
I get it. That's why I said everybody's different. I had it to where they didn't bother me. The worst I did was take a taste of the potatoes to make sure they were okay. And that even was like, ugh. I saw that with Maitreya. That's funny.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her sweater when it's done. I was like, I don't know how long it takes to knit a sweater. Is it a couple of months? And she goes, no, maybe about 2 weeks. I'm like, really?
If you
I had
stay
like no
on
idea.
it,
Yeah.
if you stay on it for sure.
So she says, Cindy, that's how my household is. The main part of the meal will be keto, and I'll have veggie side and make them carb side. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just a tyrant, I guess. But I mean, they've kind of learned now, I think. I mean, they've gone back and so our oldest boy, our middle child, went off to college, and then in the first year of college, basically gained all of the weight back that he had lost from doing keto with us and being in rugby, because he basically kept Jimmy John's in business. So
That actually sounds pretty good. A lettuce wrap.
and he wasn't doing the unwitch.
That sounds real good right now.
5 days for a sweater.
Wow. I want to see it when you're done.
Yeah. Wow. Can you imagine we've been talking for an hour and 42 minutes, Cindy?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem like that. Lindy said something up ahead. Paleo Barbie.
Paleo Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said that she cooked for her son, or she cooked at her son's house for Thanksgiving here in Colorado. And everybody loved my keto version of food. I only made one dish that wasn't for my son by request. Yeah. So this Thanksgiving, I made 2 turkeys. And then we had Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and cauliflower. And then we also had tiny roasted potatoes, and we had macaroni and cheese, and we had like pies, like regular full sugar pies. And I had a couple potatoes, I had some mac and cheese, but I knew that I had planned for that. I knew that I was going, it wasn't like, oh, it's here. No, I knew going into it that I was going to have some, because it's not in the house all the time. So I was okay with it. But I mean, it definitely wasn't something that we did like the first 5 or 6 Thanksgivings.
Right.
We were very keto-fied. Everything was keto. Everything was, if you brought it, okay, but we're not cooking anything non-keto. And I think after time, for us, it seems to work okay. I mean, we kind of feel crappy for like the next day, because like that's a lot of sugar that we don't normally get. So that does kind of like hit you, and to be expected. And I think it is for us kind of like a realization that obviously we don't need that all the time, because you do feel like trash.
Right.
So
that's like yesterday or Thursday. There was so much non-keto food there because, like I said, it's only my 2 nieces that were at the house besides my husband and I that were keto. I brought the stuffing. I brought the cranberry sauce that was both keto. I brought the fudge that was the keto chow fudge. And they made mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes with the marshmallows on top. I don't like sweet potatoes anyway, never did. They had so many different desserts, like dump cakes, two different kinds of dump cake. They had, I don't even know what all they had for desserts. But when we got there before dinner, they had all these dips with crackers and everything out that they had already been gorged in. Some had pork rinds with the dip, and they were keto okay dips. I didn't eat any. It's like, we were just getting there, time to eat dinner or lunch. I'm like, nope, I just cleared the stuff off the table.
And that sounds exactly like how I grew up. Like,
Mhm.
thanks. Like, so my Thanksgivings growing up were not necessarily Thanksgivings. We didn't call them Thanksgivings. We had them the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We would have, because we had like, our family was kind of split down the middle, religion wise. So for that reason, half of our family didn't celebrate any holidays. So what we would do is, it was also in line with my great grandparents' wedding anniversary. So we would get together the Saturday after Thanksgiving, have everybody together, because we didn't call it Thanksgiving. It was basically, an anniversary party for my great grandparents. So we would get both sides of the family together, and we'd rent like this. We would rent a place because it was quite a few people. So it was like how much food we would have. We would have all that, the crackers, the chips, the dips, and the turkeys, the yams, and all that stuff covered with marshmallows. And that's just what it was. It was like desserts as far as you could see. So it was just a normal thing for years and years for us.
Yep. It was
And
too for
you,
us. All
you
the
don't even think anything
Christmas
about
and
it.
every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, it was like it seemed like there was more junk than there was actual food. There was more of the dips and crackers and desserts than there was of the turkey and the dressing and even the potatoes and all that. The desserts and stuff overtook all of that. And I'm like, oh my goodness. When I look back at how I ate, it's like, oof, no wonder.
Well, and that's like, and I've discussed this before. We go into winter season, it starts to cool off. We come out of summer, and then we come into fall, winter, and then all of a sudden everybody starts, feeling bad and getting sick. And we attribute it to the cold weather. We attribute it to flu season. We attribute it to all these things, but we never really stop to think, okay, well, once it starts getting cool, we start hitting like Halloween candy, Thanksgiving food, and lots of desserts, and then there's Christmas, lots and lots of desserts, and then we've got New Year's Eve, which is food and lots of desserts with booze, and all that just kind of keeps coming. But it's not just those days; it's all those things leading up, because you don't only have your home meals, you have all these things at work. I had a job where for 12 years, every Christmas time, we would have what essentially came down to a dessert pitch in. Everybody would bring a dessert, like a full size dessert. So there was like our two like departments would come together. So there's about 50 people eating on 50 full size desserts. Or what? Not everybody would bring stuff, but you get the idea. There's double or triple the desserts than there were people. So there was always stuff going home, and there would always be those kinds of things, like huge feasts all the time. There was always something going on with food. So it's work, it's home, it's all of that, and it all just kind of comes at you for like the whole time it's cold, and then we wonder why we're getting sick.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong.
No, you're
Probably
right.
wrong.
There's so much, and then you mentioned New Year's. After that is Valentine's Day, and that's candy.
Yeah,
And then
candy. Yeah, Valentine's
and then
Day,
Easter.
St. Patrick's Day, Easter,
You
and
see my sister's comment.
the way we handled holiday feasts.
Yep.
Sample the foods, never overeating. I've been listening, and this is nice, natural conversation. Thanks for pleasant morning. And that's what I want to do. I don't want it necessarily to be interview focused. I mean, obviously, I'm having different people on with different things to talk about. So obviously, depending on who the guest is and how comfortable they are, have them tell us kind of their story, then have conversations. That's what I want. I just like talking to people. So hopefully, that's what I'm able to get out of this. So I mean, obviously, and next week, I believe I look at my calendar. I believe next week next week I'm having semi-retired Bob on. And then the following week I am having, so it's semi-retired Bob. And then the following week, I believe I'm having it's Indigo Neely. and then Steve from Serious Keto following her.
Those two will be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited.
I mean, they all will be, but yes.
I've been looking forward to talking with you the most, Cindy.
Well, thank you. You're sweet.
Not really.
So what is going to be your first ice cream, Dustin?
I'm probably going to try to mix some up
like
today.
5 different flavors.
I'm going to try to mix some up today. I got to dig in my cabinets and see what all I have. I know I have
so far, what's your favorite?
Well, I've only tried 3 ice creams, but out of the favorite shake so far, I would think would be between chocolate, the chocolate core, and the birthday cake.
There you go. That's what
as far as shakes are concerned. I'm curious to try the butterscotch as an ice cream. I think that'll be interesting, and possibly the mystery flavor.
Definitely try that because it's really good. Yeah. Here's a thought. We'll make birthday cake and put some cocoa powder in it for a chocolate birthday cake.
Maybe. I was like, I'll probably try it as it is first. What is it?
Cocoa powder with a little sweetener.
Maybe. I might try. I might make one that way and then one the regular way because I do want to try how it is just as birthday cake. Because birthday cake, birthday cake was one of my favorite flavors of Halo Top. I'd buy Halo Top, and birthday cake was one of my favorite flavors. That one, the red velvet, and which I'm surprised I haven't heard anything about Keto Chow having a red velvet flavor.
I haven't liked any of that keto ice creams. And not to mention, like with Keto Chow, the whole pint is a serving. Those, like a fourth of the container is a serving. Who the heck is going to stop there? Not me.
I never did. I would just eat the whole thing.
That exactly. And that's where no, Keto Chow is way better. Because I know I can realistically eat the whole thing, and that is one serving. And I don't have to pay the price for it after.
Right. And I mean, the price is relatively the same. Keto Chow is like $5.50 a serving, depending on how you purchase it, when you purchase it, and all of those are usually $5 to $6. We like, and I've seen that, and one of the things too that makes me the most excited, or was making it dire that I get a creamy and be able to make Keto Chow ice cream, was the fact that most of the stores have been, significantly rolling back what they carry as far as keto friendly ice cream. So Walmart used to have a bunch of different stuff. They'd carry different brands, and now they only really have like Rebel and some of the Halo Top, but Halo Top doesn't make all the keto flavors anymore. And like Fresh Time used to have a ridiculous section. They don't carry anything that's low carb really anymore. And other places would carry different flavors, and they don't carry them anymore. So just being able to find them in general has gone. So that made it all the more enticing and important to do Keto Chow ice cream. Not to mention that it is significantly lower carb than any of the competition that you can buy that's store bought.
Absolutely.
And you can really, choose your fats, whether you're using, the tallow or butter or heavy cream, whatever you like. So
yes, that tallow is good with that chocolate core.
I know. I tried that at KPL. I just haven't got a chance to order any recent. I haven't got a chance to order any to make it up. So I'll have to get some of that too. I just wish I could buy it in smaller containers in the big. It's like $30 for the thing, and I'll have to get some of that. But
yeah, I mean, I've had the chocolate core with just melted butter before, and it's just as good.
Yeah. So I am looking forward to that.
But yeah, I really do things and mix different flavors just to see. But I think one of the things that I tried that was it was great is I used birthday cake and made the drop biscuits instead of the chicken, the savory chicken base, and used it as a base for strawberry shortcake. Oh my God. That was so good.
That sounds good.
It was delicious. It was like, oh my word. But yeah, that was
And if you
amazing.
want to order some keto chow, I think we both have links. Just check them out.
Yes, we
Shameless.
do. There, my link is on my channel in the description for sure of just about all my videos now.
Yep, mine too. And there is a sale going on right now. Was that just for yesterday?
It's going on till Monday.
Okay, so there is a sale all the way this weekend. Get yourself some mystery flavor. Save yourself some money on keto chow, so you can try it and go get a creamy. I know that you got a new one from Costco. They have the new deluxe, or there's the deluxe, and then there's the breeze.
But you
So
know
go get
what?
yourself a creamy.
Places are selling the old one now. I looked on Amazon, and Amazon has the one I just gave you for $200. It's crazy.
Goodness, don't buy that one. Don't spend Don't spend $200 on it.
No, because you can't get the parts for it anymore.
Yeah.
That's craziness. But anyway, yeah, that's why I was showing you. There was some. I don't, what ad was that?
Oh, you got an ad
I
from
got
Ninja
it from
themselves.
Shark Ninja that I showed you Wednesday on my phone for that price, and it's the same at Amazon for Black Friday deal. That was crazy. That was the
And
original one.
if you are buying Christmas presents for your family and you want to do it from Amazon, I have an Amazon affiliate link in my videos in some places. So just click on one of my videos, click on it. You can buy whatever you want. You don't have to buy the thing that I'm selling there, and it helps me.
I don't have that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna
So
make
Taylor
one
says
big
the
old
show
wish
is
list.
Matt's in the house. I'm going to say hello to Matt Franklin.
Hi,
I hope
Matt.
Sarah's doing good. She's probably at work today. Well, I don't know if she was off. I don't know. I don't know what her schedule is. But I'm so glad I got to meet her in Galaxy's Edge. That was so cool.
Yes, and we have a question.
Says I do kind of want a creamy. Been trying to give hubby hard hints for Christmas gift. Yes. Let's see. Question. Doing the Q, the triple Q. Do you have any cravings? I honestly don't think I could handle the sweet tasting stuff. If I do keto, I'm finding that even the small amount of carbs and cheese brings on the cravings. So that's a thing I think that kind of comes and goes. So for me, in the early days, like the first year, we were really selective, and I think it helped because we didn't have all the products. First year or so of our keto journey, we didn't have the products to really even have anything sweet necessarily. I think the only thing we had available to us were some Quest bars, and they're kind of, you ate them because there wasn't really much else. They're not great, but you ate them because it's something. But I think so. The thing with cravings is it is kind of a gut biome issue. So the more you are on point with your lifestyle and eating things, then some of those cravings will go away.
Mm-hmm.
At least they did for me.
I don't.
Unless I'm doing a long term fast, then some of those weird cravings come back, like things that I haven't eaten in years. But I think that's just ghost of cravings past. But
I
yeah, you
can't
were gonna
say
say.
that I have cravings. I do like sweet stuff. I do partake in keto chow and chalk zero. I can do without it if I wanted to. I mean, I did very strict beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, which was the only time in this whole journey, 3-year journey of mine, that I ever gave up my Diet Pepsi. And I didn't. I would leave chalk zero on the counter in a little container, and I never touched it. And at 31 days of just walking past it, you know, it again, that determination. I wanted to do this to see what the big hype was about beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And then when I went off of it, whether it's a good or bad thing, nothing bothered my stomach. Nothing. So it didn't matter. I know it's an elimination thing, but nothing bothered me. But as far as cravings, I wouldn't consider it a craving. I don't have to have it. I enjoy it. So, you know, there's that. I should back off on it some.
So for me, I find, and I do 99% of the grocery shopping for
Mhm.
our house. And I will go to the grocery store and I will buy everything we need. And then I will come home and then I'll get mad at myself because they didn't buy me anything to snack on. So I'm like angry. I mean, angry. And I'm not really mad, but I'm like frustrated because nighttime rolls around and we're watching TV and I'm looking through the cabinets looking for something to eat, which once I have them made and ready to go, then I'll have the keto shell ice cream and we'll be okay. But at that point, I don't have ice cream in the freezer. I don't have anything like that. I don't necessarily think it's cravings. I think for me, it's boredom creeps in and then I want to put something in my face. But I'm lucky that most of the time I start thinking about like the cravings that I have now are not the cravings that I used to have. Sometimes I'll have cravings for things that I used to have. Sometimes I'll be like, White Castles sound good, or something silly like that, right? But a lot of times it's like, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to make me some breakfast sausage and some eggs. And then I might make a couple of burger patties. And then I'm going to watch some YouTube videos while I eat this breakfast.
Yep.
But I mean, I think with time and your choice of food on a consistent basis really does help shape your cravings from my own personal experience. Now, obviously, your journey may vary, but I think it is true that your gut biome really does push the cravings because your gut biome is created by the foods that you eat. So that's why when you go from like people who go from a really dumpy sad diet into like say like a hardcore like carnivore diet, they go through that transition that's uncomfortable and not necessarily pleasant, because it's a changing of the guard, so to speak. Your gut biome is shifting. Your sad gut biome is starting to die off, and you're starting to rebuild a new biome with like carnivore, lion diet, ketovore, keto, whatever. That initial transition can be distressful for your gastrointestinal issues, or what, I mean, you can start more frequently needing to go to the bathroom, and that's what I'm trying to say. But over time, with consistency, I think consistency is key, and you can really take back and take a hold of those cravings, and then understanding, what it is that's going to satiate you and finding what keeps you going. Like I said, for me, I've always been meaty. I've always been a meat and eggs and breakfast food person. So for me, having sausage and bacon and burgers and eggs on a consistent basis has not been that difficult. But there's people out there who have not eaten lots of meat and lots of protein, and they're trying to make that transition. And it is more difficult at first.
Right.
But I think with consistency and being true to yourself and finding what works best for you, I think you can get those cravings under control, and just understand that it can take time.
Yep.
And having bad days doesn't mean you failed. Giving up is the only failure, in my opinion. Truly giving up and going back to what didn't work in the first place I think is the only failure in my opinion. But even that, I mean, is not necessarily just a road bump, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you have a different idea on that.
Well, there's this thing that keeps going in my head all the time. Quitters never win and winners never quit. And that is, to me, that's important. It's like, if you want to win the battle, you can't quit. Bacon chips are a really good snack. And
I mean,
bacon anytime.
I think that for me, especially in the beginning, one of the pieces of advice that I do give, if you're starting a new journey and you're going from a sad diet and you were a person who would overeat, I was a person, food addiction is real for me, and it's still real for me, and it's still something that I do consistently have to keep at the forefront of my thoughts and what I do. When I first started, a huge part of it for me was to not be hungry. And by that, I mean I ate constantly the things that I should be eating: string cheese, pepperoni, uh, salami, boiled eggs, bacon, anything that I could pack into a lunch and bring with me and eat constantly to keep my mind off of all the things that I wasn't allowed to have or things that were going on in the office around me that I couldn't do. That was a huge thing for me because it's really difficult to fit that Snickers in if you've had a dozen eggs.
Mhm.
It's not impossible. I mean, I was a big guy, still a big guy, and I can eat a lot of food. So, you know, but that's just one of those things like having snacks like bacon chips, boiled eggs, whatever, string cheese, pepperonis, little things that you can just go in the very beginning, grazing and just making sure you're putting the right things into your body and don't stress over, oh, I should be doing OMAD. No. I wouldn't even worry about, having an eating window. Just eat as much as you need to stay on track and to not eat other things. Eat as much of the eggs, the bacon, the burger, the steak that you need to, so you're not reaching for the fries, so you're not reaching for the sandwich with the bread or whatever. Whatever you did before, I guess that's how I tried to be consistent in that. And I was also, when I first started, was the big thing was the bulletproof coffee. So I would have a cup this size, 30 ounces, 32 ounces every day with coffee, butter, and coconut oil. And it was about 1,100 calories of butter and coconut oil. It was a ridiculous amount.
I
But,
don't drink coffee, so
well, yeah. But I mean, that was something that helped me stay on track and helped me lose weight, which, if you're doing calories in, calories out, doesn't make any sense. But I digress. Yes. So let's take a look. There's other comments. Maitreya said that BBB&E helped her a lot figure out that she had a shrimp allergy. Uh, she found BB or triple B&E to be a struggle. We did too. So I think for me, it's not the fact that the food was a struggle. I think it's the fact that we then put a restriction on ourselves for a time frame of only having beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, where we also like to have broccoli and Brussels sprouts and things like that, or cheese. Putting that restriction in the very made it more difficult. I think if we naturally would have went that way, it probably wouldn't have been as hard for us. But saying we're going to do triple B&E, we're going to do it for this amount of time, makes it very difficult because then your brain goes, oh, I've got all this time, or I can't have this stuff.
it was hard for me because I missed the cheese and I missed the Diet Pepsi and I missed the keto chow, but I did it. And when I first started keto, I was so blessed because I didn't have the keto flu. I wasn't bothered by all that. And I went really, really strict. So when people talk about that, I feel for them, but thankfully I didn't go through that. I was just like, it was just such an easy transition for me from the sad diet to keto. It was,
And she also talks about here where she had some disordered eating resurface. I still struggle with that. I really do. And it's probably going to be a lifelong battle for me. I don't think I'm ever going to get over the eating issues that I've had for my whole life. And I mean, I know it comes from a place of love is where it starts. Here, you need to eat. I was a skinny kid, so everybody wanted to feed me. So I was eating all the time because I was a skinny kid. And then I wasn't a skinny kid. And then I was not a skinny adult. And I'm still not a skinny adult. And I struggle with I don't even to this day, I don't like going out to dinner if a place isn't going to give me enough food. Well, I know it's obviously you want a cost benefit, right, to what you eat, but it was always a thing for me. I have to get enough food. And I still do. I still have to eat enough food because I know if I don't eat enough food, then I'm going to stray. So I have to it's like a weird game I have to play with myself. I have to understand and eat the things that I should eat to avoid the things that I shouldn't, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense at all.
Yep.
So it took a bit during reintroduction to mentally work back to normal. It's a difficult thing mentally, and food is such a struggle for so many of us. I mean, for me, food is a mental, like I will like think about food all the time, and I struggle I so I'll have conversations with Chandra, and I'll be like, we should go get a pizza, like a regular pizza, or we should go do this, and she goes, no, I just need her to tell me no, or I'll be like, oh, this really sounds good, and she goes, gross. I mean, it just helps to have that. I'll text her sometimes, like, we should go do this, and she goes, no, we shouldn't. But I mean, we do have our things that we go do together. We go get sushi, or sometimes we get pad thai, or like Thai food or whatever. We have things that we allow ourselves, because I think if you don't allow yourself certain things over time, I think that can be a detriment as well. So like, we really love sushi, and I know that there's like keto sushi things you can make at home, but we're not going to do that. We're just not. I mean, there's a realistic thing that we have to face. We have to understand we're not going to make keto sushi because it takes cream cheese, and I don't like cream cheese in my sushi. I just don't. I don't get any sushi rolls that have cream cheese in it. That's a lot of the Americanized rolls have that. I'm just not a fan of it. And I'm not trying to yuck anybody else's yum, but it's just not something that we're into. We like more traditional stuff to a degree, but we love sushi and we love Thai food sometimes. We don't get it very often because we understand that it's not good for our journey, but having it every once in a while keeps our journey going, if that makes sense. Because I think if you just totally take everything out that you really like and never have it again, the idea that you're never going to have it again can have some major mental impacts on your journey as a whole as well. We didn't have it for a long time. We went years and years without having sushi. We did. Because it's a lot of rice, it's a lot of that stuff, and we just didn't have it. But we finally were like, okay, we started to understand ourselves better and understand that we are in a place in our journey that we needed to try, and we did, and we have it. We go twice a year, maybe. It doesn't help. It doesn't hurt that it's expensive.
Exactly.
And I'm not recommending that anybody do what we do.
No.
And I'm just saying, basically, the two of us have found that completely eliminating something that we both truly enjoy isn't healthy either. Because, at the end of the day, our ancestors would still have things. They would have, like, my great grandma talks about having candy when she was a kid, oranges, excuse me, apples and such. I mean, that's not that they were keto by any stretch of the imagination, but they didn't have access to all the stuff that we have now on a regular basis. She would have apples and oranges for Christmas. But, I mean, I don't know. Everybody's journey is a little different. So, and I see, so Deanna, thank you for joining. I don't think I've seen you before, and I think she's on your side. And then Evelyn. So, and this is something that I've talked about on Twitter quite a bit with a couple of different people, restriction of coffee. And I see that a lot of people are moving towards like a no coffee thing. I've tried it, and I know you're not a fan of coffee, so you don't drink it. But I think I've gone months, sometimes even almost a year without coffee, and I saw no real benefit to my life outside of saving money on the coffee. I just like coffee, and coffee adds something to my life. It gives me a little bit of calm in the morning when I have my coffee. I can sit down, have my coffee. I have a little bit of zen. I probably shouldn't put as much cream in it as I do, and I'm working on that. But just having that coffee in the morning, I can sit down. Like on the weekends, before I started doing these early talks, I would just sit in the dark and have my coffee. Now I sit and talk with you and I have my coffee. But the idea of restricting my coffee doesn't make my life better. I've tried it a couple of times and it just didn't. It didn't really overall impact me in any kind of beneficial way. I enjoy it, so I reintroduced it. Now I do try to cut back from time to time because I can have a tendency to have too much caffeine. And I understand that. So Maitreya says in Japan they do put cream cheese in some sushi. Japan is where I had the horrible experience with PB&J. Well, that also makes sense to a degree because that's where they have like pit viper ice cream and weird stuff that we wouldn't necessarily do here. But I don't know. I always just took like Philadelphia rolls and things like that with cream cheese as to be just a total Americanized kind of conception of what sushi is. But I imagine that it probably happened in Japan first because they do weird stuff with food over there. I do want to go someday. I have a friend that just moved to South Korea, and she's like a 3-hour boat ride from Japan or whatever. And I'm like, oh, lucky. Yeah, like going for seafood, like going to get Rockstar Pizza. Now that stays on plan for the most part, but it's something that we don't want to cook, or we'll go to get wings from B-Dubs, or we'll go get Mexican food. We'll get fajitas because I mean it's just nice to get out of the house and go get food. Thank you for being here, Mary. We appreciate you. Joe, I'm glad you stopped in to say hi, Joe. Never had sushi, don't plan to. It's delicious. And I understand that most people don't like, but to me, so if you ever do go and have sushi, here's the thing. Have someone who knows what they're getting, order it, and don't ask what's in it. And just put it in your face hole and enjoy. I think a lot of times people get that misconception of it's going to have this and this in it and I'm not going to like it. But I think they go and they make the flavors, they all combine very well, and the textures. If you don't know what it is, I think knowing is half the battle or half the problem.
I'm going to yuck your yum on that.
I hear you. I hear you.
No.
Let's see. She's new. Courtesy of her pal Misty. Is that on your side?
Misty is who we had on last night on our.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was great.
I can't sleep in, Joe. I made this bed. I have to sleep in it. Now, one thing I will tell anybody who's watching this show, as the episodes go on, depending on where the guest is located, I will be going based on their time zone. So it's usually about 8 o'clock their time is when they will be going live. So pay attention when I release. They're all up for most part. I have a couple that I haven't put up yet. People who haven't sent me their thumbnail pictures or whatever haven't gone up yet. I am booked out till March. I have some openings left in March. So anybody who wants to be on, let me know. We can get you in March. Then April, May, we've got all the time. So just keep me posted on that. But I know Neely's on the West Coast, so hers will be, I think, at 11 Eastern.
You didn't want to get up at 4:30?
She did not want to get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I understand. You know, she's a busy woman, and she's got a lot going on. So
I had to set my alarm for this.
I just got up at 6 because that's when I get up. I don't even set alarms hardly anymore because Chandra gets up and I have to get up and help her get out the door, and then I kind of get myself together and make myself awake and somewhat presentable to have a coherent conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we've been talking over 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours. So
time flies when you're having fun.
It does it not? And I do enjoy speaking with you, Cindy, and I'm glad that we are friends.
Yes.
And I'm super thankful that you are a guest here today. And I'm glad for everybody in the chat. And I'm excited to talk with everybody else that I have coming on. And hopefully I will have you on again sometime down the road.
Anytime.
Yes, ma'am. And I hope to see you again soon, probably springtime, though, depending on weather. But unless you guys want to stop in sometime before snow comes back or whatever.
Or if you want to stop down sometime.
I know. I would love to come down, but then we would stop at Buc-ee's and spend $60.
I bought a new T-shirt at Buc-ee's. On the way up there, we stopped. Yeah, it's a Christmas T-shirt. It's cute.
Deanna has a live stream at 9. That's exciting. I'm guessing she's not on our time because it's currently 9:49, almost 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah. But I don't mind people plugging their channels here. I'm not selfish in that manner. That's why I leave it open if my guests want to share to their stream as well. I'm here to spread and try to get as many ears and eyes on what we're doing as possible. So,
Thank you, Evelyn. She said we are both fun to listen to.
well, I mean, I appreciate you fibbing, but I like self-deprecating humor, but I enjoy every minute of this, and I'm so glad to call you a friend. And
You as
I
well.
look forward to when we get to see each other again. And all of you wonderful people in the chat, thank you so much for sticking this out and listening to us for so very long.
Yes, have
And
a great day.
And if you want to stick around, we'll talk after everything's over, and I'll go ahead and end it now. Thank you again so very much, and I'll see you all next Saturday.
Bye, everybody.